Alongside Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the 2-minute drill. Tennessee unsuccessful in knocking off Pitt, 41-34. Kind of just a weird game, Brent. Tennessee had all the momentum in the first quarter, yet Pitt led at halftime by 7, 27-20. Kind of an ebb and flow back in the fourth and second half. They changed quarterbacks once Joe Milton gets knocked out. Tennessee's without half their team, it seems like, at points. Jabari Small's out and several others. Just bizarre.
Yeah, a lot to unravel in this game. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. Once you get past the disappointment of the loss,
sure,
you start diving into it. There's just a lot to unravel there. Tennessee was missing a lot of parts. They obviously found something in Hendon Hooker, which prompts the question, what are you going to do at quarterback moving forward? That's another layer there. But if you'd have told me going into this game, Tennessee was going to have more tackles for loss than Pitt, and Tennessee was going to force 5 or 6 3-and-outs on defense, and got off to the start that they got, I said Tennessee was going to win this game. And that second quarter is really intriguing because
they 2 weeks in a row.
They gave up 6 points last week and shut out the other 3. Today they gave up 27 and only gave up 14 in the other 3 quarters today. So, just again, there's a lot of ways to go in dissecting this game. There's good, and obviously there's a lot of things they have to clean up with this football team.
With previous teams, it was the middle 8 or the third quarter. This team seems to be through 2 weeks anyway, short sample size. The second quarter, it seems like there's a bugaboo there. And you're right, the quarterback, deal is going to be interesting to see, just because, how healthy can Joe get, over the course of the next 7 to 14 days before Florida. And even if so, the way that Hendon Hooker played in the second half, I know he threw the pick there late in the game, but otherwise he threw with a great touch, made plays with his legs, really kind of had Tennessee back in it when, there were several of us in the press box when they went down 14 late in the third that thought, this thing's over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his legs are a big factor, different dynamic. He does some different things throwing the ball. But the problem with Joe is the thing that everybody talked about, and we've heard about with Joe, is the big arm to big arm. But if he can't connect on that deep ball, what's the value of it at that point in time? So, I thought Hendon did a nice job working his tight ends. I thought they being Alex Golesh and Josh Heupel, adjusted to calling things for him. I thought Jimmy Callaway gave him a spark. Sure. That's a positive moving forward there. They certainly have to clean up a lot of things on the offensive line. I think they had 7 offensive penalties on first down. And I know some of the questions in the postgame was about how clean they were in the scrimmage. They weren't clean in the first scrimmage, and we talked about this. That today was something that happened in the first scrimmage with this offense. They've got to clean that up.
134 yards in penalties. Tennessee was without, basically their top 2 running backs. Tyon didn't play at all, and Jabari didn't play at all in the second half after getting a shoulder injury there at the end of the first half. Jalen Hyatt gets knocked out on the first series. I mean, you can keep going right down the list. Tyler Barron was in and out, nicked up at points during the game. Like, to lose only by 7 and to have as many mistakes as they've had, again, Tennessee lost the football game. Pitt beat them, but we've seen them get blown out of similar games before. They found ways to make plays even when some of their best guys weren't out there.
They were, and I think that's a positive. I think right now, fans don't want to hear about.
No, they don't want to hear it. I get it.
And I think the question about why are you not under center on 4th and inches, I think it's a fair question. There was a spot on 3rd down previously that was, I thought, a bad spot for sure, and should have been a first down at that point. You got the ball inside the 5 twice, and you come away with 3 points, and you have to kick a long field goal to get the 3 because you just shot yourself in the foot. This team's not good enough to overcome those mistakes.
Yeah.
They're just not at this point. And that's why Josh Heupel said in his postgame, we got to grow up in a hurry. I think there was a lot of good to take away from this game, although you're not into moral victories. But there was a lot of missed opportunities, and they've got to correct that fast.
Ton of missed opportunities, and they got to correct the ability to force a turnover. 0 through the first 2 games. I know they blocked the punt, but 0 defensive forced turnovers through 2 weeks. Tennessee had a couple of fumbles. They had the pick late in the game. They've got to find ways to start winning that area of the football game. That way, they don't have to play totally perfect. Right now, the way they're playing, if they don't play perfect, they're not going to win many football games against comparable talent.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I like what the defense did. And that's crazy to say, considering how many points they gave up in this game. Overall, I like the growth of this defense. I think that Byron Young coming back helps them. They got to find a way to get home to the quarterback and cause mistakes without having to bring everybody. Theo Jackson's playing really good football right now. So there's a lot of things to build on. It's just, we've all talked about how important of a game this was for Tennessee when you start trying to count up wins
Sure.
and look at wins. And to be sitting here today and think about all of the missed opportunities, that's why it's hard to sit here and go, well, they showed a lot of promise and they showed a lot of things moving forward because, they had an opportunity today and they didn't capitalize on it.
He's Brent Hubbs. I'm Austin Price. Tennessee falls to Pittsburgh 41-34. They'll return home next week against Tennessee Tech.